Bonsoir, bienvenue sur
Hallo und herzlich willkommen bei Music Planet Tonight auf Arte. Diesmal habe ich etwas ganz Besonderes für Sie, denn heute Abend geht es ausschließlich um 3 Men in Black. Ein Schwede, ein Brite und ein Amerikaner. Placebo. Ein absolut explosiver Cocktail, 100% live aus dem Reservoir. Schalten Sie Ihr Gehör auf Empfang, denn hier sind sie.
Stefan, Stephen, Brian, thank you for joining us in this new Arte show. We're very happy to have you here.
Very good to be here.
Yeah, let's start as we mean to go on, really.
Okay.
I mean, why not? How do you deal with the fame side of things? How do you feel about that fame thing, Stefan?
I think it's what we started a band to, to want to show ourselves and show what we want to do, or musicians. And I think anyone who starts playing music wants a bit of fame, you want people to recognize you, you're always looking for love, looking for affection, so if I say I don't like you, I'd be lying,
Stephen?
I just stay in and just never go out. I just kind of avoid it all.
Well, you're the drummer there, it's okay, isn't it? You can do that.
Yeah, I've got the freedom, I'm lucky.
But I think as you live with, with fame or whatever for a little while, you kind of realize how kind of transparent and transitory and kind of superficial it can be. And especially when you think about sort of the tabloid culture of celebrity and things like that, and you probably just concentrate on being an artist a little bit more.
Now, we have to talk about the image, and certainly you, Brian. I mean, everyone says, oh yes, Brian. Now, Brian, what is this thing about this almost this cross-dressing sort of androgyny?
It's just fun, and it just feels comfortable, and it's just a natural thing. It's just a natural form of expression. I think I wouldn't have been able to sustain it for this long if I didn't feel comfortable, And I wear makeup for the same reasons that women wear makeup, is just to look better. And women have a great deal more clothing freedom in kind of society, these days. It kind of used to be the other way around, because they can wear everything that we wear, but we can't wear everything that they wear. So it's time to kind of take that back.
If you weren't in the band, would you still be doing that, you think? Would you be brave enough?
I don't know. That's the fact that you're presenting it on a stage gives you a certain security about it. I guess the fact that you're doing it in a band is that you actually, people respect you or like you for it, as opposed to kind of revile you for it. And one thing I found quite interesting at the beginning of our careers is before we became quite a recognized name, when people actually generally did come to gigs and think I was a girl, and then go, oh, she's cute, and then have to take a kind of cold shower afterwards, because they realized that I'm a boy, and then they had to kind of ask themselves questions about the nature of attraction.
Tell me about the Bowie connection. We have to talk about him. Because right in the beginning, as far as I know, he heard some of the demos, didn't he? What happened? Yeah. Did you send him demos?
No, we had the same agent at the time, the same kind of booking agent, and he was getting us really tiny gigs around the UK, maximum 300 people, was kind of doing the toilet tours. And Morrissey threw a hissy fit and left as support act and went home to his mum. And Bowie had heard the demos and invited us to fill Morrissey's shoes, basically, and we shat ourselves, and kind of flew over to Europe and started playing. Yeah, he watched the first sound check. Yeah, I remember getting very drunk before I could actually meet him, because it was kind of very scary. Yeah. It was a real baptism of fire. We hadn't even put out the first album at that point. Yeah, so.
A lot of musicians, close themselves off, don't they, when they're on tours, and they don't listen to anybody else.
Music in a vacuum.
Yeah. Do you guys work like that?
A little bit in the studio.
We do in the studio, definitely, yeah.
No outside influence at all?
Well, you listen to other music, but you don't put records on to kind of go, okay, let's make it sound like that, or let's make it sound like that. Can we make it? We don't use them as reference points, basically, which I think a lot of bands do. But in the studio as well, I think what's interesting is that we haven't decided what our sound is, so that gives us endless possibilities. And so as long as we kind of respond instinctively in a positive way to what happens when the three of us play in a room, then it's the sound of Placebo, because it's come from the three of us. So I think that's kind of what gives us the freedom to stretch our wings as much as possible.
When you're making your music, it's your private thing. You're writing it for your own reasons. Your music comes to you. When you give it out there, and it comes back to you, and your fans come, and do you sometimes get that, look, that song really, it really meant a lot to me, and do people actually get what you're saying, do you find?
I think so, but I think often there's a certain amount of ambiguity perhaps in each song, which allows each person to place themselves emotionally within it. The fact that maybe a song can work on several levels, or that it can mean something to different people, I think is a good thing, because that ambiguity comes out of writing something which is very, very personal, and by the nature of writing something personal, it becomes universal. If you do it the other way around, if you try and write something universal, you often end up falling into the realm of cliche, so you shoot yourself in the foot. So I guess what I'm saying is that making it personal breeds ambiguity, and ambiguity breeds the fact that people can relate to it more. You know?
I was never faithful, never one to trust, never loyal except to my own pleasure zone.
Yeah.
A product of a broken home. That's not very...
No, everybody kind of feels like that, you know, that people go through varying levels of self-disgust in their lives, I guess, you know, and beating themselves up on the inside, and certainly I think probably, you know, people feel that kind of emotion at one point in their life. You know, when you have I or you in a song, it doesn't necessarily mean that the I is the author's, you know, voice. Often the you can be the author's voice, or the other way around, you know. It's just what it's kind of more complex than that. It's not meant to be a excuse me. It's not meant to be
another one of your opinions.
Yeah, exactly. It's not always meant to be the story of your life, you know. There's always your life inside it, you know, but if it's just completely the story of your life, then it becomes like a diary.
You grew up with a religious mother and a banker father. So where's religion with you guys these days? I mean, and do you have different religions? Is religion important?
No, it never has been for me.
No, same here, really. I was sort of... my family were religious when I was younger. I do remember going to church, but it sort of kind of petered off. It was kind of left to your own devices. But it's never really played a big part. Even though there's some, you know, I suppose there's something going on, but you don't really pay that much attention.
Brian?
Well, you know, there's a difference between kind of what you believe in and what you'd like to believe in, you know. I kind of like, you know, I'd like to believe in reincarnation, but I'm not sure, you know, kind of thing. But I think, you know, when you're raised in a very strict Christian environment, that kind of imagery stays with you if you write, you know, for quite some time, because it can be quite fascinating. In a way, I'm thankful for that, because it's a big wealth of kind of knowledge and imagery to kind of pull things out of, you know. I think all three of us are spiritual people, but you know, that's different than being religious. I definitely don't believe in organized religion, you know. And there's been a couple of times thematically where we've dealt with the fact that in our songs, it's like, do you live now if you think you're going to have your rewards later? You know, does it kind of make you impotent as a human being to kind of believe in the afterlife? And I think it does to some people. And it's also a case of not having the courage to make your own rules and learn and discover kind of through living and through making mistakes. You're automatically handed this crutch, you're automatically handed a rule book, you know, kind of thing. And I think we all have contempt for authority, so that you know, being handed a rule book doesn't really...
The other sort of strong imagery that comes across, I mean, definitely on black market music, I think within the first 10 minutes you're listening, you've heard like crack cocaine, Special K, gin, you know, the heavy one. Is that how comfortable are you with the excess and the expression of those heavy drug stuff?
Well, the thing is that you have two choices as somebody, I think, who writes lyrics in today's day and age. You can either be a cultural ostrich and hide your head in the sand and believe that in society and in culture and in youth culture that drugs aren't a part of everyday life, and then thus become Britney Spears or Christina Aguilera and pure escapism, boy bands, soap operas, entertainment designed to make you not think about life. Or if you want to be somebody who is writing about the zeitgeist, who is writing about, you know, what's happening around you on a daily basis, you can't ignore the fact that they exist, you know, and just kind of refuse to hide your head in the sand. It's not the promotion and it's not the damning of controlled substances. It's, again, using them as part of language because they are a part of everyday life these days.
Do you think that if you do go to an extreme personally, any of you, with your music, with drugs, do you think you go to somewhere that you need to go to, that you can't go naturally?
Yeah. That's what drugs do, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's the answer to that one, yeah.
Basically, they change you as a person, you know. That somebody who's never done acid has a different look on the world than even just once than somebody who has taken acid, you know. It will change the way that you look at the world forever.
It's strange that in the older, like in the punk days or in the rock and roll days when drugs were at the forefront, rock and roll bands were actively talking about it. Now you guys are a rarity. It's all manufactured clean,
I think a lot of it's on the surface. I mean, just, you know, within the music business, it's changed so much. Back to the corporate thing, it's had to be made squeaky clean, so, you know.
But then other people would come along and say to you, look, you're a band. People are influenced by what you say. They might think...
Yeah, well, if they're going to do it, they're going to do it anyway. Do you know what I mean? It's in them. If it's their personality, you know, if it's and if they have an experimental side to their personality, they're gonna try it. And then, you know, it doesn't necessarily mean that once you... There's this scaremongering tactic of, like, as soon as you touch anything, that you're addicted to it for the rest of your life. And, like, some people experiment and decide that certain things are not for them, or that it's not even alcohol's for them.
And how much in control have you remained? I mean, how much are you... We live in a different world now. All these manufactured pop bands, which have existed since the 60s, but it's even more so now. And people wanting to see people who've auditioned for pop stars making a record. And I'm so glad you guys are around and doing it real. Are you free, or are you still a product of the record company?
We're very free. It's something that's been sort of priority to the band, I think. Otherwise, you wouldn't see the point in doing it. There's a lot of ideas and energy and sort of and soul that needs to be let out by the three of us, and I think that's something that's always been there ever since we decided to start playing instruments. Yeah, it feels like it's weird to be on the edge of things where you actually feel like you are the kind of dying breed of a certain way of doing music. We've managed to keep the big corporate thing away with a big stick. You know?
Yeah, it's amazing.
Like, stay away.
It's amazing contractually what you can do with a very expensive lawyer.
Absolutely.
You know?
Is that the secret, is it?
Yeah. Just get it in your contract that, you know, don't fuck with us. And I think you earn people's respect, I think, by them allowing you to do that, and you proving yourself correctly, so people just kind of go, well, let's just let them do their thing, and it works, you know. So there you go. Yeah,
especially now that, I mean, you know, the record company have seen the returns of, you know, their investment, so to speak, you know, and they're giving us a bit more free space.